Mississippi Governor Haley Barbour says he and some fellow governors know what needs to be done. Now, we spoke with Governor Barbour a short time ago. Governor, nice to see you, sir.
Hey, Greta, thank you for having me on.
Governor, I understand that you and some other governors have written the Supercommittee here in Washington about some of their expected or intended cuts. What have you written the Supercommittee? What do you want?
Well, specifically, Republican governors have talked to the Supercommittee and written them about making savings in Medicaid. You know, Greta, Medicaid is our biggest entitlement program for states by far. And earlier this year, Republican governors published a report of 31 solutions that would improve the quality of Medicaid while saving money. So we brought that back to the attention of the Supercommittee and said, look, we know the country has to save, spend less. We're willing to do our part. So here's some ideas. So count on us to help with savings, but please don't shift costs from the federal government over to the state government. We can save money, but cost shifting is not saving money.
All right. Did you get an answer like, that's a great idea, or let's talk, or we'll consider it, or that's a lousy idea? Did you get any response, or does it go into a black hole?
Well, we have gotten response from the staff. Staff people have reached out to our staff to go through some of these ideas. We've made presentations to them. And as you know, Senator Baucus actually put out a proposal calling for, I believe, $100 billion in Medicaid savings. Unfortunately, from what you read in the paper anyway, it looks like most of what he was talking about was cost shifting. That is, changing the rate of the federal government's payment for Medicaid versus the state, what they call a blended rate. Well, all that does is mean that the federal government will spend a couple of percent less, but the states will have to make it up. There wouldn't be any savings involved. We're willing to do real savings, and we want to be partners in the federal government, but we want the federal government to save money, but the states to save money too, and it can be done that way. We also told them, Greta, that there are other non-entitlement programs that states are involved in where we know we can save money, like workforce training, where there are dozens of different programs, and you can save a lot of money just by reducing the administrative costs by only having a small number of programs instead of several dozen programs. And, of course, the example we tried to set with Medicaid is if we can save money on our biggest entitlement program, the federal government ought to be able to make spending not go up as fast and therefore have savings on the big federal entitlement programs like Social Security and Medicare. And Senator Baucus, again, has apparently proposed some savings in Medicare, and we applaud him for that. The last thing we told him is, don't raise tax rates. That to deal with these deficits, we've got to increase growth. We've got to generate some growth in the United States, and raising tax rates will make the economy grow less. In fact, the president's repeated proposals for huge tax increases on employers makes it less likely and harder for employers to hire anybody new. So those are, we talk across the board, but with a big focus on Medicaid.